Hope you have understood part 1. In the second part, we will study about modern historiography. And there were different historians like Voltaire, Karl Marx, who has written history about that region, how they were having different approach toward modern historiography. So there are four main characteristics of modern historiography. Let us discuss some points given in the textbook. Its method is based on scientific principle. So in olden times, people used to assume that whatever information is shown in the historical documents, that is correct. But nowadays we are using or we are understanding scientific attitude to understand that information in the historical document. It begins with the formation of relevant question. See, when you are having historical documents, you are understanding the information, whether that information is correct or wrong. Then only you come to the conclusion. If you come to the conclusion, you will asking relevant question to a particular information, okay, whether that information is correct or not. So you will be repeatedly asking the question. Second is, these questions are anthropocentric. Anthropocentric means it is a social science to study of human life. When the human life came into existence, how the origin of human life came, then this approach, or when you're studying about history of human life, that approach is called a anthropocentric. Means it is a study of human life. It means that these questions are about the deeds of the member of ancient human. So people who has done a good thing for the people or the member of the society, they will be telling some stories, or they might be they good thing for the people. They are thinking that whatever is happened in the country, it is happened because of the god, and they were having different types of kingdom, the king who were ruling the kingdom, they were having some of the power. They are thinking that whatever is happening, it is happening because of the king. Why? Because king was the representative of the people. But now we are studying about modern historiography. So there is no relation between divine and human deeds. यहाँ पे कोई गॉड पावर नहीं है और कोई ह्यूमन डीड्स नहीं है, मीन्स कोई कर्म नहीं है ह्यूमन के. सो वी आर स्टडिंग अबाउट द मॉडर्न हिस्टोग्राफी. Third is, answer to this question are supported by reliable information. So whenever I will be asking the question, first I have to prove that. First I have to check the evidence, whether that information is shown, it is having a correct evidence or not. So whenever I will be asking question, or might be I am showing some documents, first I will ask answer to the question, whether that information is having a correct or not, or I will be asking evidence. Fourth is, history present a graph of mankind journey with the help of past human deeds. So we are studying about graph of human beings journey, how they are developed of the human life. बट ग्राफ के बारे में पता करने के लिए हमको प्रूफ बताना पड़ता है, कि एविडेंस देना पड़ता है. सो वी आर गिविंग इंफॉर्मेशन अबाउट ह्यूमन डीड्स. सो इट इज़ द चेन ऑफ द इवेंट, कि किसके बाद इवेंट किसके बाद क्या इवेंट हुआ, उसके बाद क्या हुआ. सो वी हैव टू शो द इवेंट्स एनालिसिस ऑफ दैट, showing the journey with the help of the graph. Next is, it is said that the modern historiography with above characteristic has its roots in the ancient Greek historical writing. So in the ancient Greek, the historical writing was there. They used to study about the history. So they have written something historiography, but in the olden times, people were not thinking about scientific way. Just they have to assume the things. They were not reading information, just they will apply it. Okay, whatever the information is shown, that is correct. But now in Europe, they have started some of the universities to understand the Greek historical writings. History is originally a Greek term. So history is the originally Greek term. Herodotus, the Greek historians of 5th century BCE. BCE means it is the before common era. Used it for the first book entitled The History. So Herodotus, or historian or Greek historian, has written one book, that is The Histories. It can come in the filling the blanks, or it can come as a do as directed. Next is, development of scientific perspective in Europe and historiography. Till the 18th century CE, Europe had achieved a remarkable progress in the field of philosophy and science. Scholars by then had to come believe in the possibility of studying social and historical truth by applying scientific method. See, उसके पहले assumption पे चलता था. See, people were there They believing that whatever is happening in the world, it is happening because of the God only. But they were not thinking from the scientific way. But in modern history, we need evidence to prove that information, that whatever is happening, it is happening because of the God. So we need a proper information to come to the conclusion, and nowadays we are using scientific method to understand the things. Now the philosophical discussion focus more and more on the objective in history and historiography. Prior to the 18th century, all European universities were interested only in the philosophical discourse revolving around divine phenomena. So prior to 18th century, all people were studying about divine power. That in the church also, they were study that only. Okay, whatever church will say, that is correct. Why? Because people were not questioning to the church. But after some time, people got educated. People also started questioning to the church. Okay, why this divine power is there in the church? So all this happened after the education of modern historiography. So they also started questioning to the church. Okay, what the power belongs to? What the scientific way? Why? Because we are in modern history. So we also started thinking in a scientific way. पहले हम लोगों को ग्रेविटेशनल के बारे में नहीं पता था, जब तक न्यूटन ने पता नहीं किया। जब तक हम लोगों को भी पता नहीं था, जब न्यूटन ने स्टार्ट किया, उसने एक साइंटिफिक वे से सोचना स्टार्ट किया, तब ग्रेविटेशनल का हमको पता चला कि व्हाट इज ग्रेविटेशनल फोर्स। नेक्स्ट, हाउएवर, gradually this scenario began to change in 1737 CE. The Göttingen University was founded in Germany. This university was the first time had an independent department of history. So Göttingen University, it is in Germany. That department was having only history department of the information. But nowadays you are having different department of history like Pune University, Mumbai University, Nagpur University, and all type of universities are there to understand, or we are having historical information to study the different approach in modern historiography. So all the universities are having historical department of study, and we are also studying history in school also. Later, other German university also become center of historical documents. So in German university also there were different universities of historical or history research department to understand the information of history. Next is notable scholars. So there are some notable scholars who has given a contribution in the field of history. They have written some of the study in the historiography to make the people understand that we should also think from the scientific way of perspective. The contribution of many scholars are important in the development of historiography. So there are many scholars who gave the contribution in the development of historiography. They have written something about the people, that how the life should be there. So let us have a look at the contribution of few notable scholars. So there are different types of scholars who has gave a good thoughts of view from their point of view. So let us discuss some notable scholars information. First is René Descartes, was born in 1596 and died in 1650. René Descartes was the first person in the notable scholar. René Descartes was the foremost among scholars who insisted on verifying the reliability of historical documents by critically examining them. So, René Descartes is saying that whatever the information, whatever the documents you are getting of historical documents, you should critically examine the document. Then only you should come to the conclusion, or then only you come to the point whether that information is having correct or wrong. Because we should not blindly accept that document. We should have a correct evidence to understand that knowledge. Among the rules given by him in his book, so he has written one book, that is the Discourse on the Method. The following is supposed to have a great impact on the scientific method of research. So whatever is information we are having, we should not accept blindly. We should come to the conclusion. We should think from the scientific way of method. Never to accept anything for true till all grounds of doubt are excluded. Means हमको एक्सेप्ट नहीं करना चाहिए जब तक हमको उसका कंक्लूजन पे नहीं आते, जब तक हमको पता नहीं चलता है कि हाँ वो इंफॉर्मेशन करेक्ट है, देन ओनली वी शुड एक्सक्लूड दैट. नेक्स्ट इज वोल्टेयर, 1694 1778. He was born in 1694 and died in 1778. Voltaire was from the France. His thinking was that we should not study about the chronology of events. He was saying that we should not study about the sequence of the events, but we have to understand the human life. So Voltaire's original name was Francois Marie Arouet. So his original name was Francois Marie Arouet, Voltaire's. He was French, means he belongs to the French. He opined that along with objective truth and chronology of historical events, considering social tradition, trade, economy, agriculture, etc. Means he is saying, his thought was that we should not study only about the chronology of events, whatever happened and whatever the events took place in the country. That is not important for the study. We should understand the life of the people, what problem they are facing. See, understanding of chronological events, it doesn't make any sense in the country, but we have to understand the people's perspective. What are the problem they are facing in nowadays? We have to see कि उनको properly food grain मिलता है कि नहीं, उनको properly shelters मिलता है कि नहीं. This all things we have to study. So we have to study from all the angle. Then only we can understand the life of the people and the human aspects of history. It gave rise to the thought that understanding aspect of human life is important for history writing. So we have to understand the human life in history writing, or we should write about the people. Thus it is said that Voltaire was the founder of modern historiography. So he was the founder of modern historiography. So whenever it is asked in the fill in the blanks or do as directed that Voltaire was the founder of dash, so we have to write this modern historiography. Next is George William Friedrich Hegel. He was born in 1770 and died in 1831. Hegel was a German philosopher. So he was a German philosopher. He insisted that the reality should be presented in a logical manner. So whatever the historical information or historical document you are having, it should have some logical reason कि भाई वो मैंने क्यों present किया. Without that document will not be accepted. To him, the timeline of historical event was indicative of progress. So he was thinking that whatever the timeline is there, whatever the event is happened, we should not study about those events. कि civil obedience आया, फिर quit India movement आया, फिर non-cooperation movement आया. We should not study about all the chronology of that events. We should understand the life of the people also. He also thought that the presentation of history is bound to change over the time as new evidence would come forth. So he is telling कि हमको जो अभी नया हम जो हिस्ट्री प्रेजेंट कर रहे हैं और वॉट एवर द न्यू हिस्ट्री इंफॉर्मेशन वी आर शोइंग, इट कैन कम इन फ्यूचर, इट कैन कम रॉन्ग. Why? Because if a person of the historian experts come in contact and he research that information and he prove me wrong, then my information will be wrong. So कोई भी आके मेरे laws को गलत बता सकता है. So I have to study from the past thing, then only I come to the conclusion. मुझे नई चीज़ों को इतना जल्दी प्रेजेंट नहीं करना चाहिए. अगर मैंने कर दिया और किसी ने आके उस लॉ को गलत बता दिया कि जो भी मैंने नया इन्फॉर्मेशन फाइंड किया वो गलत है. सो इट वॉज द थिंकिंग ऑफ द हेगल्स. With the Hegel philosophy, many scholars were convinced that historical methods were not of lesser quality of thought differ from scientific method. So Hegel was also telling, and the many notable scholars also think that we should understand and the information of historical documents from the scientific way of method. Blindly we should not accept the information of historical documents. The collection of his lecture and article is published in a book, means Hegel also written one book. The name of that book was Encyclopedia of Philosophical Research. His book Reason in History is well. So he has written I think 2 books in history. First is Encyclopedia of Philosophical Science and second is Reason in History. It is written by the Hegels. Next is Leopold von Ranke. He was born in 1795 and died in 1886. Historiography of the 19th century was greatly influenced by the thoughts of Leopold von Ranke of Berlin University. So his thought was there and he was studied in the Berlin University. He spoke about the critical method of historical research. So he has also explained that whatever the historical research we are doing, we should understand from the scientific way of attitude. He put emphasizes the utmost importance of information gathered through historical documents. So he is also saying that whatever the information we are getting or we are accepting, we should first ask the evidence of that historical document. Then only we can come to the conclusion. Okay, whatever the information we got, we have a proof to show that information. He also stated that all types of document associated with a historical event needs to be examined with the greatest care. So his thinking was also like Rene Descartes. Okay, whatever the documents we are receiving, we should critically examine that document. Then only we should come to the conclusion, okay, whether that document is correct. He believed that with this method, it was possible to reach the historical truth. So when we are finding the information till on the ground, till all the grounds, that whatever the information is given in the historical document, it is truth. And we can, or possibly when we are studying about the historiography, we can come to the conclusion of that research, and it can also reach to the historical truth of that information. He criticized imaginative narration of history. So हमको imagination से imaginative करके narration नहीं लिखना है. We have to understand the information properly. Then only we can write the narration of that history. Collection of his article is published in 2 books. So Leopold von Ranke has written 2 books entitled the History and Practice of History. He has written, and the second is The Secret of World History.